Martha's hands shook, not from age, but caffeine, as her neighbor shoved a tattered field notebook into them. "You gotta teach us, fam, birds don't lie." 58, she'd buried her knack for spotting warblers and parking lot maples, but Seattle's urban birdwatching collective wasn't taking no. Farmers market meetups became covert missions, tracking sparrow migrations between food trucks, logging crow gossip like feisty courtroom drama. Eco-grief? Please. Martha's crew turned it into a high-stakes bee. Martha's hands shook, not from age, but caffeine, as her field notebook slipped from her grip, landing spine up like a wounded bird. 58 years of life, 3 decades in accounting, and here she was fumbling over a pocket-sized journal like some rookie birder. But this wasn't about balance sheets anymore. It was about balance, kind she'd lost when headlines turned her morning coffee bitter with melting ice caps and vanishing species. Seattle's drizzle misted her glasses as she crouched to retrieve notebook, its leather cover worn smooth from years of grocery lists and half-finished poems. Now its pages held scribbled sketches of sparrows and crows, their boldness a quiet rebellion against her creeping dread. She'd started counting them on a whim, then joined a ragtag urban birdwatching fam who met near Pike Place's flower stalls, swapping binoculars and zucchini bread. Her deepest fear wasn't just extinction, it was becoming irrelevant, a ghost in her own life while world burned. But spotting a Stellar's jay in her fire-escape garden, its blue wings sharp against gray sky, cracked that fear open like an egg. Fragile, yes, but full of messy potential. She adjusted her rain hat, crooked again, and pressed forward, boots squelching in mud. Every tally mark in her notebook was a middle finger to despair. Every farmer's market meetup, a reminder, grief shared was grief halved. Martha wasn't saving planet alone. But she was learning its rhythms, one clumsy step, one defiant bird at a time. Martha's hands shook, not from age, but caffeine, as her binoculars wobbled over a rustling rhododendron. She'd spent weeks mistaking sparrows for finches, scribbling frustrated question marks in her field notebook until pages resembled a detective's cold case file. Then came morning she nearly face-planted chasing a flicker's call, only to collide with a folding table of organic honey. Vendor, a retired biology teacher named Gloria, didn't scold. Instead, she slid creator a lavender shortbread and pointed upward. "That's no flicker, fam, juvenile pileated, see mustache." By sunset, she found herself wedged between compost bins farmer's market, squinting Gloria's decade-old notebook. Water stains blurred some entries, but entries themselves were meticulous, migration patterns inked beside grocery lists, storm dates circled like birthdays. "Data's not just for labs," Gloria muttered, tapping a page where someone had doodled a chickadee wearing sunglasses. "It's how ordinary folks remember their part of story." Martha's notebook transformed. No longer just a ledger of failures, it became a patchwork of sidewalk science, crow territories mapped by food truck routes, owl sightings timed with her insomnia. She joined Gloria's ragtag urban birdwatching collective, a squad of baristas, grandparents, and one overenthusiastic postal worker who could mimic a kestrel's cry. They met dawn in community gardens, comparing notes over steaming thermoses, their laughter scaring off very birds they sought. One drizzly Tuesday, woman spotted a lone heron stalking a drainage ditch, an unlikely survivor in a city of glass and glare. Her pencil hovered, then sketched not just bird but cracked pavement beneath it, a candy wrapper tangled in reeds. Gloria peered over her shoulder. "That stuff," she said, voice rough as tree bark. "Truths in margins." By summer, Martha's shaky hand steadied when lifting binoculars. She'd learned to spot nests hidden in traffic signs, to distinguish between 6 kinds of gull squabbles. Climate headlines still clawed her, but now she answered back with evidence: house sparrows adapting, coyotes trotting past condos. Her notebook, once a record of absence, now brimmed with stubborn, chirping life. Season's final market meetup, Gloria handed her a new pencil, for next chapter, and Martha finally understood. Tracking wasn't about fixing. It was bearing witness, one scribbled page at a time. Martha's hands shook, not from age, but caffeine, as her binoculars caught a flash of iridescent blue in maple outside her apartment. 58 years old and still jumpier than a sparrow in a windstorm. She fumbled for her field notebook, its leather cover worn smooth from months of logging urban birds, and scribbled Stellar's J, bold, bossy, probably judging my life choices. Seattle's gray skies had pressed down harder since her grandson moved away, leaving behind pamphlets on rising sea levels and a quiet ache in her ribs. But Birding Collective she'd stumbled into Ballard Farmers Market, a ragtag fam of retirees, baristas, and one overly enthusiastic teen with a drone, had given her a reason to look up. Literally. First, she'd bungled it. Misidentified a crow for a raven, rookie move, spilled coffee on her spotting scope, twice, and once spent 20 minutes stalking a mystery warbler that turned out to be a leaf. But each misstep carved space for something else, curiosity elbowing aside dread. She learned to spot patterns, how juncos flocked to parking lot hedges before storms, how hummingbirds vanished when wildfire smoke rolled in. Her notebook became a ledger of small rebellions, pine siskins still here. Cedar waxwings feasting on serviceberries. Not gone yet. One drizzly Tuesday, she lugged her gear to Discovery Park, knees protesting hike. Halfway up trail, she froze. A barred owl perched low on a branch, golden eyes locked on hers. Time stretched like taffy. Martha held her breath, heart hammering, until birds spread silent wings and vanished into pines. That night, she didn't check doomscroll headlines. Instead, she cross-referenced her sightings with Collective's database, adding another stitch to their patchwork of proof. Life, stubborn and glittering, still clung to this city. Rain-tapped window. Martha grinned, flipping her notebook shut. 58 wasn't too old to learn new tricks, or to fight back with ink, attention, and one well-aimed jab to spare. Martha's hands shook, not from age, but caffeine, as her pen hovered over a fresh page in that battered field notebook. 3 months of scribbled observations, coffee stains, and one dramatic ink splatter from a startled crow now demanded an audience. Seattle's gray skies had nothing on her nerves as she pinned up her findings community center, charts of urban sparrow migrations overlapping with heatwave data. A bold move for someone who'd spent decades quietly tallying birds from her kitchen window. Fam Farmers Market had nudged her into this, those early meetups where retirees traded zucchini bread and climate dread like baseball cards. Martha's notebook became their secret weapon. Each entry proved life persisted, a hummingbird nesting in a traffic light, raccoons turning dumpsters into buffets. Skeptics in crowd scoffed first. What's a bunch of bird counts gonna do? Then her display lit up. A grainy phone pic of a barred owl perched on a construction crane went rogue on social media, crane owl trended by noon. Suddenly, city planners wanted her maps. A reporter called it climate grief meets guerrilla science. Martha bit back a laugh, remembering how she tripped over her own boots documenting that owl. Age brought wisdom, sure, but also a spectacular lack of balance. Still, she stood straighter as strangers clustered around her work. One skeptic, a guy in a windbreaker who'd rolled his eyes weeks ago, gaped her heatwave graphs. You tracked all this, just watching birds? Crowd roared when Mayor announced new green corridors based on her data. Notebook in hand, ink smudged on her sleeve, Martha grinned. This was her start. Not with protests or petitions, but proof that paying attention mattered. That even a 58-year-old with bad knees and a caffeine habit could turn worry into wings. And yeah, maybe she'd buy sturdier boots next time. Martha's hands shook, not from age, but caffeine, as her binoculars wobbled over a rustling rhododendron. 3 weeks into urban birdwatching, she'd yet to spot anything rarer than a disgruntled crow. Yet her field notebook, initially filled with grocery lists, now overflowed with scribbled wing patterns, a testament to stubborn hope. Seattle's gray skies couldn't dampen her newfound mission. She rallied neighbors' farmers market meetups, luring them with homemade blackberry jam and tales of a Cooper's hawk nesting near post office. Skeptical millennials and retired teachers alike joined her ragtag collective, swapping bird pics like trading cards. Martha's odd habit of whispering puns to sparrows, "nice tweet," meant, "fam," became their quirky anthem. As seasons shifted, so did grief. Notebook pages documented more than feathers, they held stories, a widow finding solace in woodpecker rhythms, a teen sketching warblers instead of doom-scrolling. Martha guided them all, her once trembling hands steady as she pointed out a fledgling's first flight. One crisp morning, she stumbled upon a rare varied thrush, its orange stripes blazing against moss. In that moment, Notebook, now dog-eared and coffee-stained, felt lighter, as if each entry had lifted a weight she hadn't named. Climate dread hadn't vanished, but it had met its match, a flock of amateurs armed with curiosity and stale bagels. Grab your notebook, Joy's perched nearby, waiting.